Thanks for staying with us. Welcome to our sponsored segment. Joining us on the show now is the Executive Director, Advocacy for Women with Disability Initiative, Mrs. Patient Ogolo Dickson. Welcome to the show, madam.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, viewers.
So tell us about the Advocacy for Women with Disability and what exactly do you do there?
Yeah, Advocacy for Women with Disability, as the name implies, is an advocacy organization that advances the rights and issues of women and girls with disabilities. So we are a national organization and we operate in the form of self-help group in the community to bring the women together in a forum where they can discuss issues around themselves. And that forum also give opportunity for the women to also engage community leaders, engage women's rights organization, engage the government, in a nutshell, engage critical stakeholders. So that's all that we do.
Yeah, so let's talk about the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, which was on the 3rd of December. What does this day signify for your organization and how do you celebrate it?
International Day of Persons with Disability is a global event that happens every year. For 2023, we have the theme, Unite in Action to kind of rescue and achieve sustainable development goals for persons with disabilities. So for this year, it's a very wonderful theme because it's talking about people coming together to have a kind of collective towards issues around persons with disability, including persons with disabilities themselves. So for women with disability, we are part of the disability community, and then it's an occasion for us to also look at our issues, bring our issues out, highlight our issues as it affects us, especially looking at the intersection of gender and disability, and also call for action in that area so that people can also have a buy-in and have this collective voice so that issues of women with disability will be advanced, so that we are not actually relegated or, according to the mantra that is trending now, leave no one behind.
So how would you say the Women's Voices Leadership Project has supported your organization as regards reaching out to more disabled women?
Yes, Women's Voice Leadership Projects actually gave women with disability an increased voice, especially in the project areas or project locations that we are working in. It gave us voice, space in the area of engagement, space in the area of sensitization, space in the area of collaboration, and space in the area of increasing our voice and also increasing our self-esteem. You will agree with me that the general community of persons with disability, because of the barriers that they have to go through, and then for women with disability, we look at it as double or even triple or even more barriers that they go through, because they go through this discrimination and barriers as women, and also go through it as women with disability. So it's a whole lot that is happening for them. For the WVL project gave us this kind of opportunity to make an impact in our lives. What it did is that after the training that we did for our leaders, building their skills, it also brought out the hidden skill that they have in them. And so they now became change makers in their own community. So increasing voice for women with disability around their issues to community leaders, to the government, local governments, LGAs within the areas that we work in, then the women's rights organization, thereby expanding the space in the area of development for them and also in the area of increasing voice and visibility for women with disability. One key thing that project did for us is that the women are now going into the community to actually advocate for their own rights.
Right.
This is something that's not steadily done by the women, so people do it for them. But this opportunity has given us that right for us to say, build our skills, give us a lot of energy, and also make a lot of impact in our lives to make us as women with disability want to come out and say, okay, we have a voice, and this is the barriers, these are the things, discrimination we face, and we want to take the bull by the horn for ourselves, and then we are able to actually do that.
For the
as women
benefits
with
of our
disability.
viewers, let's expand on these barriers that you talked about. What are the challenges that women and girls with disability face, and how do you think these challenges can be addressed?
Yeah, access is mainly one of our biggest challenge. Accessing physical structures, infrastructure, communication barriers is also one of them, transportation barriers, and environmental barriers, and all that. When it comes to women with disability, we also look at gender-based violence, what are the unique violence that women with disability go through. Okay, women with disability go through spousal violence, in that their spouse just discriminates against them and violates against them just because they have a disability. And also, we also look at bullying, emotional violence that they go through because they are always at home, and then they are violated against at home. So these are some of the barriers, and then also include the sexual reproductive health and rights. And these are some of the barriers that we as women with disability go through. Sorry, I'm saying we because I'm one of them, and I'm a woman with physical disability. So this is some of the barriers that we go through. How do we try to actually mitigate some of these barriers? As a women with disability organization, we advocate, we engage state actors and non-state actors as well to ensure that at least they have a kind of inclusion into their development space. We also do a kind of engagement with them so that they understand the way we feel, our issues, and so that what that gives us is to also increase voice for us, and also puts us in the decision table so that we'll be able to actually also be a part of those making decisions. Right. Of course, you will also know that at that point now, we are actually not there, because even the women themselves, when I say women, I mean the general women like yourselves there, we still have some issues when it comes to political representation in governance. So women with disability are not there yet, but that is where we are headed to. We want to also have a voice for ourselves, even at the decision table. So that is why advocacy for women with disability is here, and that is why the WBL project is very, very, very critical to us.
All right, so let's talk about the Sustainable Development Goals 3, which is specifically for achieving health and well-being for persons with disabilities. What kind of structures or systems can be put in place? So you've given us a bit of your wish list, what you'd like companies, institutions to do. But is there a kind of proper structure or system you hope to be put in place to help you achieve these SDG goals?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. SDG goals came out, the SDG came out with one, the mantra, leave no one behind. So in all that we are doing when it comes to development space, we should not leave any community behind. So based on that, it is very key that even within the health sector, if we want to look at the goal 3, which speaks to the issues of good health and well-being. I am a woman with physical disability. I'm a wheelchair user. So if there is no access in the health facility, it will be difficult for me to live well. It will be difficult for me to achieve that well-being. So it is very, very key for health facilities, health institutions to consider access when it comes to persons with disability or women with disability. Do we have ramps? Ramps is the sliding thing that takes persons with disability to wherever they want to go. How accessible is the system? Do we have communication, communication for deaf women within the system? So if a deaf woman wants to access the hospital, do we have sign language interpreters within the system so that to also prevent these women from going to pay for additional costs to get this sign language interpreter, which is very, very expensive, to take with them to see the doctor. So these are some of the barriers that really work against women with disability in the health sector.
Right.
But women advocacy for women with disability, we are there, so we are advocating for change in some of these barriers.
Okay, so let's look at funding for women-led organizations that focus on persons with disabilities. How would you say the Global Affairs Canada funding has supported in this issue?
Well, a lot. They have really supported us because let me just go to the funding part first. If you look at funding, is one way that women with disability can actually make a lot of impact. Maybe not only women with disability, but everybody. But for women with disability, it makes a lot more impact than every other community. Why did I say so? Like I just mentioned, we have barriers based as women and also as women with disabilities, because we have to spend extra funding to also ensure the special needs of women with disability. So the funding from the Global Affairs Canada through Actionaid really helped women with disability within the community where we work. How? Because without funding, we will not be able to do anything. We brought a lot of women together. We trained them. We even brought some health workers together in the health institutions in the locality where we worked, and we brought them together to also train them on issues of women with disability as it relates to health. So that also helps the health workers to also understand how women with disability are faring and how to take care of them, and also work and also give them an idea that to say, okay, when we go back to our various institutions, we will now become advocates for these women, because we need to also make a kind of equity or equality to ensure that they are part of the society. So that is what the funding has actually done for us. And just to say here that funding for our community is very scarce. And we have so many organizations filing in for very small, few funding. But Global Affairs Canada made it a great opportunity for advocacy for women with disability to access funding and also approve our funding, and we were able actually to also make use of it and impact women with disability lives.
Okay, please, could you tell us about the women and girls with disability that you have reached out through the WVL project, and what notable impact have you seen, since you worked with them?
Yeah, like I said, that project gave us an opportunity to train women with disability leaders in 4 states. We did it in Lagos, we did it in Ekiti, we did it in FCT, and then we did it in, I'm not so sure of one now, but in 4 states. That's where we actually implemented the project. And what that did for the women is that it increased their self-esteem. It was a kind of eye-opener. It made them to understand that, oh, we have a right. Because this training was actually based on the UNCRPD, which is the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, for us to know our rights, and also the Discrimination Against Persons Prohibition Act, which is our own Nigeria law. And then, and that was actually, these are some of the tools that we use in the training, and as well as the VAP app as well. So the women were exposed to these tools, and it was a kind of eye opener for them. And what did it do for them? How were they impacted? They now go into the community. For example, a woman with disability was murdered a few months ago. So what they now did is begin to start a kind of press briefing to actually say, okay, we want a kind of justice. We want justice for this woman with disability. This is not right. So this is something that the women themselves are actually doing. And that is something that the WVL has done.
Thank you very, very much. We'll be speaking with the Executive Director, Advocacy for Women with Disability Initiative, Mrs. Patience Ogolo Dickson. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning. We appreciate it. Wish you all the best with Actionaid. Let's go on a break now. We'll come back. We want our next sponsored segment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.